Lou and Don. Please like, subscribe, and share.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Tell Your Truth with Lou and Don. I'm Lou.
And I'm Don.
And today, and this month, like I said, the continuous segments with mental health. Men's health for the month. And today we have a very special guest, Dr. Lanise Stevenson, the founder of Master Practitioner, but more importantly, she's someone who understands us from what I can tell and what I've gathered. She can further delve into what her background is, as we will hopefully have her here for the next hour or so. She doesn't wish to make anybody cry, so let's just hold on and see how this all works out. Welcome, Doctor. Glad you could be here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. So I guess the first thing is, and then I'm gonna let Lou go and roll into the questions, but if someone wants to follow you or follow what you do, how can they follow you on social media? How can they follow you?
Sure. On IG, I am Dr. Lanise, LANISE, _ living in flow, or at I am living in flow. And if you want to go to my website, it's www.iamlivinginflow.com.
All right. So Lou, you want to go ahead and get started?
Basic questions.
But
go ahead,
Don.
Go ahead. Okay.
Before we do that, just one quick thing. I want to let everybody know she's a certified doctor. she don't call herself a doctor just for the sake of calling herself a doctor. She's a certified doctor. So pay attention. You might learn something. Hopefully, if something affects you or has been affecting you, you'll learn to start your healing process, hopefully from this show. Lewis, on you.
Dr. Stevenson, can you give us a brief synopsis of how you got to where you are today?
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna make this long story short. First, every time I tell people I have earned 6 degrees, 1 bachelor's, 3 masters, a doctorate, and I'm earning my master's of social work. How I got to where I am today was just simply by observing how people connect. My doctorate is a research doctorate. I'm a doctor of education. I focus on understanding how people connect, how people heal, and my specialty is belonging and civility. But a lot of the times when I analyzed how people connect, I recognized that it was a lot going on beneath the surface. And so I could have someone who was a really good person, joyful, and wanted to connect with someone else. And if that other person had things happening beneath the surface that they had not yet resolved, then they would not want to connect, even if the other person was whole and humble and wanted to connect. And so I wanted to be able to identify why that was, number one. And then I wanted to be able to find solutions to help not just one person that I'm working with, but people across the board. And so I decided to go back to earn my 6th degree in Master's of Social Work, because I wanted to understand how the traditional therapeutic process, so when you go, you call, you book a therapy session, what's happening in that session that may not allow you to heal quickly, where a lot of people are talking about they're in therapy for 10, 15 years and they still haven't been able to heal. And so I started to learn my answers when I was going through the Masters of Social Work. And so today I am really focused on bringing holistic practices, which I've been trained in, to a traditional therapeutic space, so that we really focus on healing, not symptom management.
Well, you answered the first question.
So before I go to the second question, though, so what's the difference between a holistic standpoint or a holistic practice as opposed to a traditional practice?
That is a very good question. Typically, holistic practices really align with what we used to do before we had Western medicine. That's really what it is. And so when I talk about holistic, I'm talking about being able to see the whole person, not just, let's say they have PTSD or they have, significant trauma, right? So I'm not just looking at that person based on the symptoms that are presenting themselves today, I'm able to look at them in every aspect of their life. And most importantly, I'll focus in the subconscious. And I know I'm going to have to explain a couple of things in simple terms. You have a conscious mind. We're talking right now. We're dealing in our conscious mind, right? But
Right.
you know, at night, just for an example, there are these thoughts that bubble up that meet you at your pillow. There also,
Okay.
when you're in a daydream, you have thoughts that bubble up. So you know what I'm talking about, the epiphanies. That's in your subconscious mind. For people, I tell them a lot of times you're drinking alcohol at a bar because you really want to turn off your conscious mind and allow your subconscious to take over. If you're smoking a little weed, I'm not into it, but you know, I'm not against it either. People are able to access the part of their mind that I deal in when they are in the calmest state and their mind is quiet. And make sense?
Makes
That's deep.
sense.
I never but we already knew that, like for me, as being in law enforcement for 37 years, that most police drink.
Wow.
We drink. Firemen, police,
Yeah.
doctors. I mean, it's a way of us. It's called an unwind. You know, we call it an unwind. Like over the day, let's go have one. So does that fall in? That's our subconscious as well.
So actually, no, your subconscious wants to protect you. Your subconscious wants you to be healed and whole. What that is a coping strategy. So I always tell my clients, you're either going to drink it, you're going to drug it, you're going to sex it, you're going to spend it. One way or another, you are going to cope, or you're going to eat it. What we see is people aiming to address the problem, what they perceive as a problem, in ineffective ways. And it's because they believe that these are the only choices that they have available to them. Does that make sense?
That makes
So,
sense.
so if you knew you could come to hypnotherapy to quiet your mind and to resolve your perceived challenges, then you would probably do that.
Okay.
You know. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Oh.
So many people carry emotional wounds. What are some signs that someone is holding on to unresolved emotional wounds?
Ooh, the triggers. So when you have an overreaction to something, that's what we call a trigger response. Typically, there's some sort of emotional baggage that you have. And the emotional baggage likely didn't begin in the same way that you're triggered. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. That makes sense.
You want me to give you an example?
Sure.
Please.
So some people I know keep dealing with the same type of man. And they believe that it is the man that is the issue. Oh, this man, he doesn't care about me, blah, 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 blah. But it is because when we have, worked with them, we've recognized that man, that archetype is like their father that never resolved some of the issues that they had with their connections, the parent connection, right? So what they have done is they continue to reproduce the father or the figment of their father that never was there. And so until they actually heal from what happened to them when they were younger, it will continue to accelerate into their future. And so I have seen it over and over again. And I feel that a lot of times we have what my clients have seen is that they've had misplaced and misunderstood trauma. So they've misplaced where the issues really are because they're looking at the symptoms, how it's presenting rather than what it's rooted in. And so being able to understand, well, where is this actually coming from? Because that's where your solution is going to come from. You have to heal that part of you. And so a lot of times it compounds. And now with pop culture, we make everything normalized. Things that are absolutely abnormal or should be seen as abnormal that are signs of dis-ease, right, have been normalized. And so now you have people, who are walking around to no fault of their own. Because if you're telling me that it's normal for me to drink, drug, overspend, all of that, then I'm doing it. We got songs, popping bottles, songs talking about stealing. I mean, just all the things. I forgot the new song that's out right now.
The scammers, the one for the scammers, and the way the scam. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I'm like, wow.
Right? Why are we saying that?
Wow. So, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, so I'm 55. Don's 53.
So
we 52.
He said, get it right.
He's closer to 3 than he is 2 at this point.
Okay.
But we came up in the hip hop culture and the R&B culture and the disco culture that we talked about the same things, but it was implied. It was never like just put out there on blast for everybody. Yep. We know our parents listen to the same type of music, but when you get older and you go back and listen to the words, and he's not necessarily saying the words that they're saying today, but he was talking about that.
Yes.
So, but this music, this generation, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
Of what they can get away with shooting into the world or shooting into young adults, or just what they're absorbing through it's crazy. What are we doing?
So first and foremost, it's by design. So we have to understand that part. The machine is behind it, and it's by design. So I was thinking about what happened with Jay-Z this week, last week, when he decided to partner with Target. He knows that Black people, his followers, most of them are boycotting Target, but he still decides to go and release one of his albums. Now he released it to know this part. He released it with other streaming platforms, but there was a very specific release at Target. So we already are, we as in the masses are already conditioned to feel like we lack something. That is conditioning. Mm-hmm. So if something is exclusive, we decide that we have to have it. So we would break our beliefs, our core values, we'll suspend them so that we can feel, number one, that we have social status and we can still socially connect with others. Because if you got it, I got to have it, because we got to talk about it. And it got to be somebody who doesn't have it so that we can feel that we have more social value than the next person. And so what the media does is it operates on your belief that you are lacking something. So if they can sell you anything, they can tell you anything. And most of the time, you are passively absorbing these beliefs that really are not even your beliefs.
Right.
So
my take on the Jay-Z thing was he's a billionaire. Mm-hmm. We know that. Boom. And the DEI thing with Target, I'd look like, I'm saying, okay, the DEI thing and then you talk to people that still go to Target, and they'll tell you none of the Black businesses that were in there are actually gone. Like the makeup stands and everything, they're still there. And then I saw another article. We said, y'all mad at Jay-Z, but Drake, Kendrick, and a whole bunch of Black artists are still in Target. They're selling out of Target.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I said, the only one thing I can say, and me and Don had this conversation, is that Jay-Z plays on a different level. So we don't truly know how it's going to affect this, because all they saying is, oh my God, DEI. I was like, he's playing the long game. Y'all playing the short game, because you can only affect the cold from inside your body. There's nothing you can do from outside your body.
Yeah, I understand where you're going. Yep.
It's like the NFL. Everybody was mad at him for bringing Bad Bunny. I was like, yo, he's not the master of Black people. He's the master of bringing the best entertainment for everybody. People were mad you had Bad Bunny. I was like, dude is the hottest dude on the planet. Why not have him at the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I mean, I heard a couple of his songs. I didn't know who he was, but he do who he do. But we can't have everything black. It's got to fit everybody.
Mm-hmm. But what Dr. Stevenson was saying was, and correct me if I'm wrong. So what she was saying was, behind Jay-Z, there's a machine that drives him.
Yeah, we know the machine. The machine is the biggest gangster out there.
He's a billionaire because of that machine that got behind him.
Thank you. Yes,
Right.
that's exactly.
We know
Yeah.
this. We know this. We know that the machine can eat
So
you.
you
He can
can-
make him a billionaire today and 1,000 tomorrow.
Exactly.
Right.
So you can insert any person. This is what people don't get. They deeply connect with people who don't even know who they are.
Mhm.
And so they act like this person is their cousin and that person is not. They don't even care about that person. They are playing the same role that they were paid to play in the very beginning.
Right.
And so now they're doing it not out of a place of lack because they have means. There has to be something bigger. A lot of times I believe they want to continue to have their power because we see what happens when they want to take down people in general, but especially Black men. They know how to do it very well. They have the blueprint for that. They know how to run that thing. And so being able to disconnect your value, because we want to get back to the people that we're talking to, being able to disconnect your value from all of these external things is really what's going to make you whole.
Right. Right.
So when I said, and me and we always talk about Obama and Trump, right?
Okay.
So I said, and we see, and Obama being everybody's thing, what did Obama do for Black people? And my answer is always, what did Black people do for Black people? And we go forward, and I say, when these mayors and these congressmen that are Black that get in trouble and do all this stuff and put Black eyes on it, I said Obama laid you out the blueprint of how to stay out of trouble and get some things done. But y'all dummies want to jump out there and think you can do, I hate to say it, what the white man does.
So I have so many perspectives about this. Actually, this is in my my research. So you said two really powerful things, and I want to talk about each of them. Okay. When I see Obama and I see Trump and I see any politician that has been successful with their constituents, I see them using a communication model. So the way that they talk to the people is about inspiring them. Obama's slogan was, "Yes, we can," right? I have actually gone and interviewed people to ask them, well, what did "yes, we can" mean? And every single person told me something different. Because Obama and Trump speaks in a way, we call it's actually called the Milton model. And we use it in hypnotherapy, actually. Because what it does is it puts you in a daydream and you fill in the blanks for what "yes, we can" mean. And I actually got a crowd of people together and asked them individually. And as each one of them shared what they thought "yes, we can" meant, and it was really what it meant to them, they realized that, wait a minute, what did that mean? So you can create a movement on something that is deeply connected to the other person because you're not filling in the blanks. You're allowing them to fill in the blanks. And for a lot of people, that's how they are duped, more so inspired. Trump did the same thing. Now, we're not getting into politics, but Trump is a master of this.
Yeah.
He can connect with people. And we say that it's because he speaks on a 4th grade, 3rd grade level. No, he actually is pretty smart in communication and marketing. So he is saying, he's calling people names because it connects to his constituents. That's how they speak. And so because that's called rapport, because I feel like I'm like him, I like him. And that is the core of a lot of the cult. When the beehive, and I love the beehive, I don't want no beefs, but when you see different people having this following that almost seems like it seems like a really deep rooted movement, a culture, a subculture, it is because they are connecting to the images and the ways that that person speaks to them, but they really aren't saying much.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think politics, and I tell anybody this, I tell Don this all the time, I say politics is the dirtiest sport out there. There's nothing dirtier. I mean, because the machine is the machine, and granted, when we put a president in office, the president's really not running the country. It's the oligarchs and the money people.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. The figurehead. So, what I focus on is people owning their own power, getting to understand their own power, getting to understand that they have the ability to heal themselves, whether it's with a guide or self-taught. Most of the time it's with a guide. You have the ability to heal yourself. What are your expectations about healing? So when you go and you encounter a helping professional, whether it's a therapist, personal counselor, whatever, what are your expectations about your own healing? And are you sharing your expectations about healing? Or are you saying, just please fix me, just please help me? You have to be in charge of your own healing.
Okay.
Okay, that kind of leads into the next question.
All right.
So can you explain to our audience how these methods help people break through emotional barriers? Because a lot of time that's what prevents us from healing is those barriers.
So what I find is that, especially I'm going to talk because I'm speaking to men. A lot of men have a preconceived notion that anger and other negative emotions is actually what drives them. And actually, anger weakens you, right? And so understanding that although you may have developed this emotional baggage through painful experiences, your healing doesn't have to be painful. I typically ask people to close their eyes and think of the oldest memory that you have. And it takes a moment and it bubbles up. They see an image of them when they were very young. And oftentimes, the oldest memory that you have is typically the very first time that you've experienced some sort of hardship or trauma, enough that you had to believe something that was not true. For young girls, I'm going to go back to the example of women who I've worked with who have come because they don't understand why they keep choosing the same man. And I asked them to go back to the oldest memory. And the oldest memory was when their mom either told them if their dad was if their dad was alive, that their dad was supposed to come and see them, and he never showed up. And you see their faces change, and they are that little girl in that moment. So on the flip side, I've helped a lot of men, and very common in my clients is their relationships with their fathers. Their fathers may have left early, meaning they may have, died for health reasons. They may have gotten killed, but there was something there. And who they became in life, they assumed who they thought their father was. And so they have come to almost 50 years old, almost 60 years old, and they're just coming to terms with why they operate the way they do. They're operating from their pain deep down inside. And so being able to allow those memories to resurface and to disconnect enough from the memory to understand it, to gather more information and change your perspective on it. And when you change your perspective, you give yourself the ability to begin to heal. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
That
makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah. So past trauma that you haven't dealt with, or nobody has taught you how to deal with it, because you just because life be lifing.
Life be lifing, and sometimes people just don't even have the bandwidth to deal with things, and they also have trauma bonds, deep trauma bonds with their community. And so again, we're normalizing behaviors and experiences that really deserve healing. And so that we have to be able to get past that part. And then other times they've had experiences with other helping professionals, counselors, therapists that were not as effective for them. I'm not saying that person wasn't effective in general. It was a mismatch. I had a recent client who said that every single time he went to a therapist, because he was so popular and so down, the therapist was like fanboying him. And so instead
Wow.
of actually dealing, with the client, which that is way against
Mm,
the code of ethics, um, that person could not really support the healing of the client because they wanted to be the client's friend. And your therapist is not your friend. They're a helping
Right.
professional and they owe it to you by law and by ethics to help you to move forward in your life and help yourself to heal.
okay.
So off the, this is not one of the questions,
Mhm.
but what you just said, just spawned something in my mind. So when someone goes to a therapist, because for Black men, there's a negative connotation with going to a therapist in the first place. If
Mhm.
for a Black man, going to a therapist asking for help is a sign of weakness. So when they do make that step to go to a therapist, what are some things that they should look for themselves? That what kind of connection should they look for with that
Okay.
therapist?
So that's a really good question. And I just want to be clear that I am a holistic
Right.
um, practitioner. However, I am able to offer therapy because I'm in my internship at
Okay.
a firm, and so if someone, but I've also helped people to find therapists. You want a therapist, number one, that understands your environment because from a therapeutic perspective, we deal with we call person and environment. So we're able to see the full person from a strengths-based perspective in their environment. The whole purpose of being able to see them in their environment is so that you can help connect them to the assets that are already present in their environment that they may not be able to see. And the other part about the strengths-based perspective is that we have to have a fundamental belief that you can solve your perceived problems. And quite often, what
Mm,
I hear in terms of feedback from friends and other people is that their therapist is more like coddling them. They're not starting from a strength-based perspective. They're connecting with them in their problem instead of helping them to see all aspects of their perceived problem so that they can change their perspective and become empowered. That's not what I
okay.
see, or hear very often. And so when you're looking for a therapist, you want to make sure that that person has a vested interest in understanding the environment that you're in and that they have a fundamental belief that you can solve your problem. It's the theory of self-determination. Can this person actually have the independence they need to solve their problem? And how can I help them to solve it? So you should be interviewing people who want to be your therapist because they are getting paid to support you, right?
So, yeah, that's exactly right. So it's like the teacher in school. The
Hmm.
hard teacher is the one. I don't want to go to that class, see hard, but you go to the easy teacher,
Yeah.
slide out, you slide through that class, but you haven't learned anything.
Hmm.
You see what I'm
You're
saying? The
cheating
hard one is going
yourself.
to push you to the you cheating yourself.
Hmm.
So
But so from the flip side, I want to, represent the therapist. So I have a large body of friends who are therapists. They're good therapists, actually. And what they say is oftentimes clients will come to them and they're lying. They're not telling the truth about what's
Hmm.
happening. And so you can't help people who won't tell the truth. Now, when I say tell the truth, you have your own reality. Everyone is can have their own reality. So I'm not talking about reality and truth, right? So with truth, you have to be able to tell an accurate depiction of the reality. So when I say truth, I'm saying, how are you describing what has happened in your life? And are you leaving out things to make yourself look better, right? If you're doing that, then they cannot help you to develop the assets and to identify the assets that you already have. I'll talk about, what I do in my work, which is a little different than that. And my goal is to be able to open up a traditional therapeutic firm using holistic practices that actually focus on helping clients heal. And that means that they don't stay with me for 10 years. I'm not making money off of them for 10 years, helping them to maintain their symptoms. So let's be clear. I have a core value of integrity. I don't want to see people in a year. I want to see them healed, self-determined, so that they can move forward in their life in a positive way without the support of someone else. So in the work that I do, we don't focus on talking about your problems. We focus on identifying the experiences that you have had that your subconscious has suppressed. For instance, I have police officers who have come, chiefs of police who've retired, and they could not effectively return as a normal citizen in society because they had gone through so much. They no longer had the stress of work, so they had to sit and they had time, and all of those memories started bubbling up and meeting them in their quiet moments. And what did they do? What did you talk about, Lou? They started drinking. They drank more. And every single time those memories bubbled up, they just drank so they could get in a trance. They hypnotized themselves so that they could quiet the mind. And so what we do in a very structured way, I communicate with the subconscious. There's a language. And I allow your subconscious to bubble up those memories. But instead of you being re-traumatized, I help you to disconnect from that memory enough so that you can hold it up in a frame. You can see yourself in it. And then when you see yourself in it, you're able to understand what was happening, not just from your perspective in that moment, but in the broader perspective. So my dad never showed up, right? So you remember, the time when your dad didn't show up to come pick you up. What else have you learned along the way? Even if you are at an age where you're a father, what have you learned along the way about the pressures in that moment for your father? You gain a different perspective because you have more wisdom about what has happened at your stage of life. And now you can look in retrospect at where your father was. And now you have the ability to have empathy for someone who hurt you, right? Father could be gone, could have passed away, but there is still an aspect of your father that you've created in your mind, and it has fed you negative thoughts. It has fed you negative beliefs. It has caused you to act in negative ways that are detrimental to your wholeness. And so we help with that.
That's deep. That's really.
I do it on a daily basis.
So I'm gonna let you go ahead and ask the next question, because I promise you I can ask her questions until 3 o'clock in the morning. First of all, I'm super interested. So I'm gonna have a bunch of questions. So Lou, I'm gonna go ahead and let you ask this next one, because I have a follow-up question for her as well. But go ahead.
All right, you kind of touched on this on the last question, because everything we're talking about is all related. We know this. For someone who feels stuck, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their purpose, what is the first step they can take today to begin transforming themselves?
Oh, that's a very good question. So the very first thing you have to do is return home to yourself. You have to understand. So you have to take a deep look at who you are, why you do the things you do, and you have to figure out whether it is coming from the inside out or from the outside in. Meaning, have you defined your identity based on who the world says you are? Or have you formed your identity based on who you know you are? How have you connected to yourself spiritually? How have you gone inside to really see and remember who you were before you were hurt? Who you were before you became angry? Who you were before you became extremely sad? And most of the time, you return to when you were between the ages of 4 and 7. Now, for some people who experience a lot of childhood trauma, that may be a little difficult. But you can oftentimes, I'm talking, in general, you can go back to when There was no connection to money based on your actions. There was no connection to social status based on your actions. Who were you? What did you aspire to do? Who did you aspire to be? And then focused on how did you go from there to here? So, don't always say analysis paralysis is worse than anything, because if you get stuck in a cycle of thinking of those things, you can't really stand on them to move forward. Also, if you are stuck, ask yourself, why am I stuck? What do I believe about myself in this moment that I believe that I'm stuck? A lot of times I've talked to people and I have general conversations. Sometimes people will just walk up to me. I must have a welcoming face. And somebody on the street will start to have a deep conversation with me. And a lot of times they're like, you look like a businesswoman. Can you help me here? And I'll ask, what are you doing to help yourself? Why aren't you helping yourself? Well, because I can't get this and I can't get that. And I'm like, have you ever thought that you do have assets? Just like you just walked up to me just now. What else can you do to take action to help yourself? You really aren't stuck. It's only here. You really are not stuck. It is what you believe about yourself. But let me tell you what you shouldn't do. You shouldn't drink it. You shouldn't drug it. You shouldn't sex it. You shouldn't spend it. You shouldn't eat it. You should focus on what you want, and that is it. Because whatever you think about is what you manifest. We know when we think about good things, when we think about who we want to be, we start to take action on who we want to be. And if we think about, and we say to ourselves, forget it, it's never going to work. Guess what? It's never going to work.
Right.
And so a lot of it starts from what you are telling yourself. And that drives a lot of our pain. We talk to ourselves in ways that feel like we are our own biggest hater. No one can hate on you the way you can hate on yourself. And so being able to stop, well, first you want to recognize the voice. Also recognize whose voice it sounds like, because that gets you to the clues too. And then figure out, where did that voice come from? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That makes sense. So like I said, I'm very interested because I've always heard of holistic medicine. But I'll be honest, this is my first time really hearing about holistic therapy. Is holistic therapy growing, or is it becoming more of a common practice?
It actually is. And I really keep my ear. I do a lot of research in where the industry is going. And what I see in terms of the biggest shift is with the veteran affairs. So a lot of soldiers come home. A lot of soldiers are already home. They are experiencing PTSD. They see that medication management is one way to address symptoms, but it doesn't solve the problem. So in terms of sustainability, yeah, you can keep taking medicine, but are you actually addressing the issue? And so they have began to really understand the power of hypnotherapy, the power of mental and emotional release, the power of even yoga. I also am an internationally certified yoga teacher, so I touch on so many modalities in the healing space. I understand they're not one and the same, but they're complementary. And so being able, I think the hardest part is that people have associated holistic practices with like woo-woo. And I tell people all the time, they're like, Doc, I mean, the only reason why I got hypnotherapy is because I knew you. I knew you weren't going like, do you mean like get out? And I'm like, just look in the mirror for a minute. I'm not gonna do you like, I'm not, you think I'm the only person that's not gonna do you like get out? Get Out is a movie, but it really programs your mind to believe that that is what happens. Hypnotherapy is, I always say, you go to the massage therapist to calm your muscles, to be able to get out a lot of the pain that's in your muscles, to help them to relax because you're always so tense. Well, hypnotherapy does the same thing for your mind. And most of the time, and I'm talking about, I've even helped pastors, they have not had quiet minds. When you can sleep at night without drinking, drugging, doom scrolling on social media, you have mastered a lot. And that is one of the core benefits that my clients talk about, is that this is the first time I've actually felt peace. I thought I had peace before, but it was temporary peace. You deserve inner peace at all times, no matter what's happening in your life. I posted on Facebook yesterday that someone hit my car. They took a cart, a young person took a cart in anger and rammed it up against my Lexus. I got to pay for this, right? So immediately, so I was actually in a Walgreens, and someone witnessed this young person do that, and those people confronted the young person. The young person ran off. They found out that the young person's mother was actually in the Walgreens, and they pointed out the car. I took a picture of the car. I'm still calm. Heart never raced when I came out of the Walgreens and saw it. When the witnesses, came to tell me what's going on, I took a picture of the car so I could go back in the Walgreens. Still very, very calm. Well, this car took off and almost nearly hit me. The person rolled down the window. Bitch, why are you taking? Oh, sorry. Why are you taking pictures and all of that? And in that moment, someone is yelling at me, and I'm just looking at them. And I said, listen, if you actually understand what's going on, you would know that I was the one that was harmed. And if anyone should be yelling, it should be me. But I'm not yelling. And I'm talking like this, and I'm not yelling. And I said, I need you to calm down so that you can understand what's happening. No, and, still cussing. So I could see in that moment that was, number one, an overreaction. I understood, and this is a fundamental understanding that people have to have. Anger doesn't make you powerful. Having the behavioral flexibility, which means that in this moment, I had the most choices about how I respond to this person. I actually have the control. So within less than 1 minute, she calmed down, because I said to her, your son actually did something to me. No. How do you know? I said, the witness right there, she told me. I said, but at the end of the day, there's a surveillance camera right there. So you can get upset and everything. And all of a sudden, when she saw that I wasn't responding to her in the same way that she was responding to me, she was confused. And I saw the pain in her eyes. So I said, well, what's going on? I'm telling myself what's going on. Immediately, her boyfriend calls. He's in the hospital. I think he got shot or something. And she's just crying, telling him what happened. I can't believe this. Da, da, da. And so I told her, I said, listen, it looks like you're at your wit's end. This is not something that you can deal with today. I already took a picture of your vehicle. We can get the registration. I already have the pictures, surveillance camera. Let's take care of this when you are in a better state in your life. And do you know, in that moment, by the way, her son did admit that he did it and all that. But do you know, in that moment, my level of empathy and my ability to meet her where she was healing to her. And that was, you have mastered that. You can only get to that place when you really have peace inside of you. You operate differently in the world. And that is the strength and the control that people need to have to make a real difference in life, period. So, yeah.
So when on the department, but that's part of our training. Because I said, first of all, you're not gonna meet a person on the level they're on. That's not smart. It ain't gonna happen.
Yep.
So you come in, naturally we the bad. Every time we walk into a situation, unless it's something that somebody else did, we're always the bad guy.
Yeah.
So they always want action right then, right now. You're not doing it fast enough, and they up here. I say, like my lieutenant said, we can all sing together, but we can't all talk together.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
so
right.
It was like a line that stuck with me. So once you get them there, and then you'll see because that's the only way you're going to be able to solve their problem. But you always got that one person that comes up and riles them back up again. You be like, what are you doing? But what she's saying is right, because sometimes it just be like this. Really? And you just kind of just look at what we doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they don't quite understand why you're calm and you're not matching them because they are so used. That's what's normalized behavior in their community. And so when you're not operating like that, they're like, what's going on with her? No, you can't get me there because you don't have any control over me. I seem to have a little bit of control over you right now.
So something I've always wondered with therapists, especially in your field, you listen to everyone's trauma and issues and problems all day.
Yeah.
How do you unwind? How do you dump that out so you don't have to carry someone else's trauma on a day in and day out basis?
So I'm going to be transparent with you. Okay. Every single healing modality that I use in my training, because I had to go to school for a long time to do this, every one of those modalities were used on me. I healed in the process of learning to be a healer. Now, some parts of being a healer are innate, God-given to you. So let me say that. But being able to fine-tune the process that you can repeat over and over to get the same result, that's what I went to school for. And so mental and emotional release, I don't have to go into my full background, but I have experienced trauma myself. Not as a kid, not with my daddy, with people who I chose to be with. And so I had to understand that there were certain experiences, the same thing I'm telling you that I help with other people with, I had to go and allow my subconscious to bubble up everything that I had pressed down. And I had still, those things had really fueled me. Well, what I thought fueled me to get all my degrees, to open up all my businesses, to be the best single mom I could ever be, blah, 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 blah. But I recognized that all the things that I was accomplishing at that moment were about what I did not want. None of it was about what I wanted. And so to answer your question, I operate from a place of peace. And so when I engage in a breakthrough session with someone, I'm not taking any of that with me.
Okay.
So it's a presupposition, like you're presupposing that when I'm listening to someone that I'm holding on to their stuff. No, I'm just a vessel. It's coming through. Okay. I can do that because I am healed. So what you tell me in your story, I might have had something like that happen in my story, but I have already resolved it. So I'm standing on the strength of the story. I'm not standing in my story and bonding with your trauma. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You're not trauma bonding.
I'm not trauma bonding.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if some police can't, police, firemen, doctors, they can't turn it off. You know what I'm saying? So I think I was lucky enough that I have work is work. That's there. I mean, do I have the memories? You're never going to get rid of the memories, but that over there, that don't affect me. I'm like, that's that. When I get off in this 8 or 12 hours, like that, I'm glad to be out of there, and that's where it stays. But some people can't separate.
Yeah, I actually have some police clients right now who have experienced, some really traumatic events, and how it's manifesting in their life is through anger at home. So although they initially believed that they were turning it off, they actually didn't recognize that they were just transforming the people. So instead of the people who were out that they had to deal with that caused them issues, they're now taking it out on their girlfriend, and they don't understand why they are angry and maybe, abusive. And it's because they have not dealt with the things that happened to them, not just in policing, but when they were younger, right? So being able to help them to unpack all of that, empty them out so that they can be whole, is always going to be the strategy, for healing. Yeah.
All right. So this is kind of on the fifth question. Even though I'm sure we're going to ask you about 10 questions at this point, but the fifth question. So once someone goes through the healing process, what do you what do you want to leave them with, so that they continue to heal and not regress back into the same reason that they came to you in the first place? Like, how do they continue that healing process?
So I want to make sure that you understand that the healing actually happens because of the person. I am a guide, but it is so empowering for you to come with a limiting belief that I'm healing you, and you to leave knowing that it was a cooperative agreement that we had, that we're going to help you to heal yourself, but we're doing it together. So it is a with process. And so once you leave empowered, you're a brand new person, because you're leaving with assets that were already there for you. You just didn't know you had them. And so what I require from my clients is that now that you have seen that you could transform your life just like that, you could heal just like that, right? You can change just like that. Now you are only to focus on what you want. Do not turn back around and focus on what you don't want. Don't allow the media, these commercials, these songs, nothing. Don't allow the people who I'm now sending you back to, who you used to have trauma bonds with, make you look back on what you don't want. You now bring them up. You empower them to focus only on what they want, because you have an understanding of the power of your mind. So I don't have to do so much work. Once my clients have healed, I don't have to do a lot of work in convincing them that they need to focus on what they want. They know. Every one of my clients has 10x their businesses. They have found love. They have resolved the issues that they've had internally. And so just imagine if you could never sleep, if you always had to drink to go to sleep, or smoke, to go to sleep, or whatever. And now you go to sleep for the first time and you have peace.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to go back because you remember who you were when you were there, right? And so the other thing I do after the breakthrough process at the end is a process called finding your ikigai. So, people who turn 100 years old, there's a lot of studies on how people live to be 100 or older, and what are they thinking. So we want to understand, how we can have longevity in our lives. And what most of those centurions talk about is they figured out what their natural skills and talents were. They figured out their purpose. They figured out what their community needed, and they figured out how to use their natural talents and gifts to give back to their community and to get paid for it, right? And so there are quite a few documentaries on, like the Blue Zone is one of the documentaries that talk about finding your ikigai. And so when people are able to use their natural gifts and talents, like what you know how to do, like the back of your hand, to actually improve your community, it refuels you. So the peace, the love, the joy that is ever present is able to fuel you and move you forward. And so being able to see you on the other side with peace and joy and calm and empathy, that's all what we really want. We want peace, right? And so I don't have to convince people to focus on what they want, because they know they don't want to go back to the other side.
Okay. I think the next one is yours, Lou.
What was that about? Let me pray here. I know I was right here looking at it, and she just draws you in like, I'm lost.
I know, right? I know, like on the edge of my seat type situation. Yeah.
All right, that's where was that? That's that.
So
Okay.
while you pull that up, Lou, so I know, like you said, like the hardest thing is when someone comes to any kind of therapy and they're not truthful. How would you explain to somebody to find that truth, like to be as vulnerable as possible and find that truth, so that they actually get out of a session what they're supposed to?
So I will tell you how I do it. And I can't speak for other people. When people encounter me, I have such a love and joy and understanding that is calming. Because my spirit is calm, it calms other people. And because I'm not quick to judge, and I talk to them about everything being, number one, confidential, but we are not our behaviors. We are not our past, misgivings. I set the tone so that when people are sitting right there in that chair over there, they know that this is a safe space. And I did not want to use that buzzword safe space, because we typically use these words in ways that don't really mean what they mean. But this is truly a psychologically safe space. Most of the time, people don't tell the truth because they believe that others are going to judge them. They are so conditioned to being shamed and being made to feel guilty about things that they no longer can change. Like whatever you've done in the past, you can't go back to the past. How are we going to move forward? And so having a real conversation with people and having a first rapport, like people. And so I'm sure you like me because you feel like I understand you. So having at least a rapport first with people, but then building a trusting relationship is the most important part. What I don't do is say, girl, me too. Oh, yeah, me too. Because that's not helpful. That's not going to move you to a place where you are empowered. I have to say, I hear you. And where do you want to be? So tell me really what you want. And then based on what you want, I hold that there. So if you tell me the truth, it's on you. If you don't, but I obviously know if someone would not tell me the truth. But I honestly haven't had an experience where people were lying to me. They, in fact, tell me things that they've not even said aloud to themselves. And it's because of they really believe in the experience. They believe in the potential to heal, and they want to heal. So, yep.
I like that answer. I like that answer. Go ahead, Lou, because like I said, I promise you I can ask a million questions, man. Go ahead.
Well, hopefully we'll get that one once a month and you can write your questions down. We can get up once a month, we'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I know you. When people complete the holistic
The
journey,
breakthrough process.
the breakthrough, the journey, what are some of the most powerful transformations you witness? And what message would you like to leave with listeners who are seeking healing and growth?
Yeah. It touched me when you said that, because I recall a client who was a high-ranking military official. He had to make decisions that he now knows were limiting based on the circumstance, based on his power, his rank, all of that. And he also went through a very challenging childhood with his father. And he was taking drugs. He was taking the pills that were prescribed to him. He was emotionally abusive to his children, his young children, and his wife. And when he finally healed himself, when he finally got rid of the voices that he then recognized was of his father, he was able to get off of his medication, not just stop taking it. He went back to the doctor. The doctor evaluated him, and he no longer had to take medicine, because that was one of the things he wanted to stop, because the side effects made him feel unnatural. And when I saw him again, he was so at peace. He was planning on getting a divorce. Well, his wife was planning on divorcing him. He's now in a happy marriage. His kids actually can make noise in the house. He can go and take his kids on play dates. That is transformation. I could tell you about my clients who 10x their businesses and all of that. And some of that I've, posted or they will post about their experience with me. But it is when you can heal the whole family. I mean, there is nothing better than that. That is the legacy. And so I also had a cancer patient She actually became a survivor when she finally, her daughter, referred her to me. And she had a fundamental belief because the cancer process was so traumatic to her. She believed that she would never walk again. She didn't even have cancer like in her legs. She had, breast cancer. And she believed that she would never be able to grow hair. I mean, all kinds of things. She had a lot of limiting beliefs. And when we actually allow for all of the memories that she repressed to bubble up, she recognized that a lot of her pain, and she believes that, I want to say this very clearly, she doesn't believe that she directly caused her cancer. She believed that the stress that was on her body for decades limited her ability to heal and allowed her body to be diseased, right? She was able to heal from sexual assault that happened when she was 7 years old. She was well in her later stage of life, and she had never said it. She had never seen the memory again. The way that the subconscious represses, it represses so that we don't have to deal with it. And so when she was able to heal from that event, she was able to heal from all of the other events that occurred. She started walking, and this is actually on my page. She was able to walk, and the most important thing she wanted to do was to give back to cancer patients. And so she developed an initiative called, it was like Plants and Talk. So she loved plants. So she used plants and learning about plants and planting, succulents to help cancer patients talk about their journey. And so she began to help people heal as a result of her own healing. Again, those people who are being healed with her will never meet me, and it's not required. It is the work that I do that when you help one person heal, you help their whole community heal. And that is why I do the work that I do. And so, yeah, it's so rewarding. I would be lying if I didn't say I get something out of it too. Every time somebody heals, a little piece of me that I didn't know needed to be healed heals with them. And so,
So we won't hold you all night, even though I would love to. So I do want you to tell everyone how they can follow you again. For those who wasn't in the beginning of the show, because I'm sure you're in high demand. So so if you do get the opportunity, you're blessed because there's something about your demeanor. And I think you said it, like when someone sits down with you, and they can relax. It's something very, very calming about your demeanor. That's why I said I could sit and talk to you all night long. We could have conversations about this all night. But tell the listeners how they can follow you, and or if you have openings, how they can book a session.
Absolutely. The easiest way to connect with me is through a discovery call. It is free. It's 15 minutes. You can go to my website. It's www.iam, so IAM, living in flow, FLOW.com. So I am livinginflow.com. If you want to see that I'm a real person, you can follow me on Facebook because I'm a real human being. I post, about all kinds of things. I have a lot of fun. I live a very free life. You can also follow me on Instagram at Dr. Lanise _ live in flow. And then you can follow our company Instagram at I am living in flow. And it would always be my pleasure to help you through the healing process. Change happens in an instant. Healing happens in a very accelerated way when you know how to target what actually is affecting you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm not sure what happened to Lou, but thank you so much for taking the time out
You're welcome.
to appear on the show. Okay, I don't know what happened to either one of us, but we're back. I think Lou is trying to come back in, and I'll bring back in. But thank you so much for taking the time out to not only educate us, but also educate our listeners, our viewers. Like I said, I've known about holistic medicine for a very long time,
Mm-hmm.
but knowing that there is an alternative to traditional therapy is eye opening. It's been very eye opening. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Lou, you got any parting words? I don't want to take the show.
You know, I'm signing up. I'm not going to hold you. I'm going to do the thing because I know. I know. You know what I'm saying? So.
You deserve inner peace, and that is the bottom line. Period. Point blank. You deserve inner peace, and that's what I'll leave you all with.
Well, we definitely appreciate you. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. Please do us a favor. If you enjoyed the show, like, subscribe, share it with someone else. Because even though you may not need therapy, you may know someone who does. So send us out to someone. This way, if they need it, they have the opportunity to connect with Dr. Stevenson. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And everybody have a wonderful night.
You too.
Good night.
It's time to tell your truth with Lou and Don. Please like, subscribe, and share.
Man,
that was man. Hold on one second.